As a homeschooling mom of 5, sometimes the days can just get busy. Maybe the kids have activities, we have a lot going on trying to get our homeschooling done, and sometimes getting a good, healthy meal on the table is something that I don't want to spend a ton of time on. I love cooking from scratch. I love making good, healthy meals for my family, but I don't always have like 2 hours to make them. So it's been important to me to figure out how to make healthy meals for my family in a short amount of time. So I'm going to share 5 easy meals that I make for my family that my family really loves, that are healthy but can be made in really 30 minutes or less. And they don't require any fancy ingredients because let me tell you, I do not have time for that. And most of them are going to come right from your pantry. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Jess from the blog siloandsage.com, and here we talk about cultivating your home. And you may or may not know that I have 5 boys, including teenage boys, that are athletes. So meals are kind of important around here. They're kind of a big deal. And so I want meals that are going to nourish their bodies so that their bodies are healthy, their brains are healthy, but I also just don't want to spend lots and lots of hours in the kitchen. I love to cook, but I just don't have time in this season of my life to be doing these huge elaborate meals that take hours and hours to prepare. I don't know a lot of homeschool moms that have that kind of time. Even though I'm home a lot with my children, we are doing a lot of things and we have activities. They're in sports, we're going to youth group, like all these things. But eating meals as a family is super important. That is a really high value of ours. And so we needed to kind of find a balance of how do we have meals together as a family, have these healthy meals, but also we're running kids to sports, we're running kids to youth group, we're doing all of these things. So I had to come up with meals that were easy and quick, didn't take a lot of time to cook. I could throw them together before or after a practice, and they were still healthy. I wanted meals that used real ingredients, that didn't come from a prepackaged meal. In our pantry, we do have some prepackaged meals, but that is not our go-to. Dinner is the main meal in our family that we are all together. Now, we're home a lot during the day, and my husband works from home, so we do get to eat a lot of meals like lunches or breakfasts together, mostly at the same time, but I generally do not make them. Like, I do not make breakfast for my kids, except when they were too small to make their own breakfast. I don't make like a big lunch all the time. Occasionally I do. My kids sometimes will even make like a breakfast or a lunch for everybody, but our dinner meal, our last meal of the day that we eat together as a family, that is the one that I prioritize as like, I want to make sure that you are getting the healthiest things that you can get into your body. I want to make sure that you're getting your vegetables. I want to make sure you're eating fruits. I want to make sure you're getting enough protein in your diet. And eating this meal together is so important. It is actually, there have been studies that have proven that eating together as a family makes a significant impact on your child's mental health and just your family relationships and your family dynamics in general. So this is super important to us. Plus, then I know I can see what they're eating and see what they're going in, on their plates and going in their bodies. And I know that they're getting good quality foods. So that's the meal that I prioritize, cooking it mostly from scratch. It doesn't mean that everything is homemade. It doesn't mean that everything is home canned. It doesn't even mean that everything is fresh, because that's unrealistic, especially where I live in Wisconsin. It's unrealistic that every single thing that I put on our plates is fresh. Now, I'm going to give you 5 easy meal ideas. Now, these are meals that you can realistically make in 30 minutes or less, unless you're super distracted by children or they get interrupted, then they might take longer. But these are all meals that are easy, have healthy ingredients, and they don't require anything fancy. But in addition to those meals, I want to show you and give you some tips about building a well-stocked pantry and how building that well-stocked pantry filled with healthy ingredients can help your family eat good meals and eat them quickly. Because I think there's this tendency to run to fast food when you have practices in the evenings, or to make a meal that comes from a bag or a box, or throw some chicken nuggets. Now, I'm not saying we never make chicken nuggets, but it really isn't something that I try to do often at all. I try to save it for like those special nights, those special occasions. It's kind of a treat because I know that those are not the healthiest things for my kids. I really, really want them to eat good, whole foods, organic ingredients, like ingredients that I know exactly what is going into this meal. But I also do not like to go to the store all the time. I don't want to be spending all of my time running to the store buying food. So keeping a well-stocked pantry helps me to know I can make probably a dozen meals, like off the top of my head. I can go through my pantry, find a dozen meals, and I can have my next couple weeks planned out. Not that I actually meal plan, but that's a whole nother video maybe. But I can look in my pantry and I can know I can pick out a bunch of different meals to make tonight, and I can decide what to make, and I can do it really quickly, and I know it's going to be good ingredients that are really healthy and good for my kids. So then it doesn't matter if it's been a long day, or I'm exhausted, or we're running kids from place to place, or whatever it is, whatever is happening, that I can still come home and make them a good meal, or make the meal before we go. And I know that they're going to have good foods. I don't have to rely on takeout or fast food or some kind of convenience meal. Because to me, having a well-stocked pantry is the convenience meal. Okay, spaghetti. Spaghetti is one of the easiest meals that you can make for your kids. Now, whether you are using home canned tomato sauce or if you are using store-bought tomato sauce, but it is so simple to throw together a homemade spaghetti. I don't ever buy pre-made spaghetti sauce because I will just take tomato sauce. Now I'll either take store-bought tomato sauce like this or my home canned. I don't have enough canned this year to only have home canned tomato sauce on our shelves. So I also make sure that I always have some store-bought tomato sauce and tomato paste. I do like to put this in my spaghetti sauce. I have a recipe on my website that I will link for a really easy, really simple spaghetti sauce that just uses really simple ingredients and uses plain tomato sauce. I don't buy jarred tomato sauce. I just use plain, and then I add in our own herbs and spices, either just like dried seasonings that I have purchased or herbs that I dried from the garden. During the summer, I'll throw in fresh herbs, but now that gardening season has passed, I will use dried herbs. Now, it's really easy to make ground beef directly from frozen, and it doesn't take long. I will put it into a pot of hot or warm water and let it thaw out, even just a little bit. And then once it's thawed enough to remove from the package, I will throw it in like a Dutch oven and I will cook it down. I'll put the cover on top and it will just cook down and it will cook quickly. And then I'll add in all the other stuff, and then while that's happening, I cook up the noodles. I buy the tinkyada, I think it's pronounced, rice noodles because we're gluten-free. I buy those from Azure Standard. I will link those below if you are also gluten-free, but these are some of the best spaghetti noodles that I have found. Spaghetti is so great and easy because you can just add in things that you have. You can grate in some carrots, you can add in some canned carrots, you can add in any kind of vegetable that you want, or you can just put those things on the side. We usually also will have canned or fresh fruit, or if we have raw veggies, we'll have those on the sides. I don't need to make it super fancy. If we have bread, you can have toast with it, but we usually just have the pasta and the sauce with some kind of meat and also some sort of fruit or veggie on the side, along with the veggies inside the sauce. One thing that I really love to do to make my meals easier is to just cook meat in bulk on a different day. So let's say that one day I am making a bunch of ground beef. I will try to make like double or triple if I can of the ground beef so that I have it for meals to come. The tricky thing about this when you have a house full of teenage boys is that they will come along and eat your meat for lunch when you thought you had saved it for dinner in the future. So I don't do this quite as often as I used to because they will just eat it up. Now, it's great that they're eating it. I love that they're eating it, but they can also eat other things. So if I know I need to save a certain meat for a certain meal, then I don't cook it up early because then they're going to eat it. Another super simple and easy thing to make for a meal is rice. I make my rice in the Instant Pot. I used to have a rice cooker. It was helpful, but when I got my Instant Pot, I realized how simple it was to make that in the Instant Pot. And so I no longer have a rice cooker. It's just like kind of a useless gadget for me now because I use the Instant Pot for so many things. So I will link below my recipe for making rice in the Instant Pot, but it is so simple. I like to make cilantro lime rice just because I think it tastes good. My kids love it. And then I make extra rice, and we do use use those during the weeks for lunches, like the kids will make burrito bowls or whatever. Now, rice can be a good base for just about anything. You can add in beans, you can add in any kind of leftover meat that you have. Now, just like I make a bunch of beef to have leftovers for other meals, I will do the same thing with chicken. I will make a whole chicken and I will cook it in the Instant Pot, and then I will use the leftovers for other meals. So for example, if I have a little leftover chicken, we will use it for a meal with rice, and I'll make the rice, I'll have the chicken, and I will throw the chicken in like a cast iron pan along with some diced tomatoes. If I happen to have fresh, I would use those first. So we've got tomatoes, then I would add in some sort of vegetable like some frozen red and green peppers that I buy in bulk. I've talked about that before, how I buy those from Azure Standard in bulk. Can also add in some canned corn. Now, if you don't have pre-made chicken and you don't have time to make chicken, that is where the canned chicken comes in. Now, if you have seen any of my pantry tours, you know that I buy canned chicken. This is from Costco. I like to stock up on these canned meats. We buy a lot of meats locally, especially chicken and beef. We buy whole chickens though, so I don't tend to buy like the parted out chickens, because I'll just buy whole chickens from local farms. And so that's why I love having these cans of chicken, even though this is not organic farm fresh chicken like I'm getting from, when I buy my whole chickens. But this is just so easy and fast for a meal when we have a busy night. So throw these in the pan with the tomatoes and the peppers, maybe some canned corn, and you have an easy meal alongside your rice that only takes 4 minutes in the Instant Pot. All of these canned meats that I have, these are super helpful for those easy meals when maybe you didn't take the meat out to be defrosted, or you just don't have any meat, or it's so frozen that you're not gonna have time to thaw it out. So I like to keep on hand things like beef and chicken. I have a little bit of pulled pork. Of course, we have canned beans. Those would be a great substitution in a meal like this too, whether it's refried beans or like black beans or something. You could also do it with something like salmon over there. It's just great to have these options for yourself, to have easy meals that are quick to make and you are still making healthy ingredients. Now, we prefer not to eat canned meat all the time. So if you're canning your own meat, you know that they're going to have a little bit better ingredients. They're not going to have anything added to it. Now, soup is another really simple and easy meal that you can make because it often doesn't take a very long time, especially when you already have some sort of broth made, whether you make your own or you buy it. Now, I do make my own bone broth. I make it from those whole chickens, or I make it from the beef bones that we get when we buy a whole or half a share of beef. But I also do like to buy some to keep on hand for when I just don't have any around. Now, many soups do take a little bit longer, especially if you're doing things like potatoes and you're cooking them from raw. But the key to a fast soup is to use ingredients that don't need to be cooked for a long time. So saute up some onions, maybe with some garlic. I love garlic in a good soup. And add in your broth, and then start to add in some canned or pre-cooked ingredients. So maybe you add in some canned potatoes, some frozen celery. If you watched my freezer video, you saw that I love to keep frozen celery, so I will pull some of that out and throw it in the pot. You could add in canned corn. You could add in frozen vegetables. Those don't take a lot of time to cook either. Throw in some noodles if you want, and then add in some already cooked meat. So whether it's beef or chicken or some kind of sausage, add in some kind of meat that's already cooked, or have a meat that you can cook really quickly. Like if you have a ground pork sausage that you can cook up really quickly while your broth is cooking too, and then throw it in at the end so it's all mixed in together. We also love to serve serve our soup with quinoa. You can make that in the Instant Pot really, really quickly. It only takes 8 minutes on steam to cook up some quinoa, and it just gives you an added protein, and it's really good for kids who don't really love brothy soups. So if I'm making a really brothy soup, I know that some of my kids don't really love the broth part of soup, so we'll just ladle like kind of the veggie and meat portion over their quinoa, and they eat it and they get extra protein in there too. Now, I like to keep a lot of grains on hand. I keep them in these 5-gallon buckets, or this one I think is kind of full. I keep them in buckets like these. And so I buy my foods in bulk. I buy my grains in bulk. So I buy things like, I buy a 25-pound bag of gluten-free flour because I mostly make things that are gluten-free when I'm making them for my whole family, because there are a couple of us that need to be gluten-free, including myself. So I will buy from As Your Standard a 25-pound bag of Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1 baking flour, and I will make biscuits. And they are so easy to make, and they are so fast, and they are so much better than those boxed biscuits or any kind of boxed or frozen, you know, those little ones that come in like the popping things, you know, when you like open them up. I can't remember what they're called because I haven't purchased them in many years. Like you open them up and they pop open, and they're like the pre-made like crescent rolls and things like that. I don't do any of that because, well, partly because I'm gluten-free and I can't even eat it anyway, but also the ingredients in those are just not very good and I don't love it. But in about the same amount of time, I can whip out a double batch of like gluten-free cheesy garlic biscuits or plain biscuits, and it's delicious and I can have a meal with them. So what I really like to do alongside the gluten-free garlic cheese biscuits is I like to make chicken pot pie filling. Now, chicken pot pie can take a long time to cook, but if you cook biscuits and then you cook chicken pot pie filling and you make the filling almost like a soup, it is so fast and easy, and I'm going to tell you how to do it. It's so simple. Now, if you're asking me for a recipe for the chicken pot pie filling, I do not have it because I've never written it down. I've never gone by recipe. I just kind of throw things together and see what it tastes like, and it's different every time. But the basic recipe is broth and garlic and cream, like heavy whipping cream or milk. You could use whole milk too. And then you use a little bit of arrowroot powder to thicken it up. You can use cornstarch too. I usually use arrowroot powder. And then you add in some vegetables. I just use a bag of frozen mixed vegetables that I get from Costco. If I don't have those on hand, I'll just add them separately. Like if I have peas and corn and carrots or whatever, like I'll add them in separately if I don't have a bag of the mixed vegetables. I don't prefer to use canned vegetables for this chicken pot pie filling because I think they get a little soggy in there and I just don't like the texture personally, but you totally can if that's what you have on hand. So I let it cook up and I add in some seasonings. Now my favorite seasonings to make when I make this chicken pot pie filling, or if I just make a chicken pot pie, I love to make this with organic no salt seasoning from Costco, or I will use this Redmond's Real Salt organic seasoned salt. I do usually prefer this one from Costco if that's what I have, but sometimes I'll even add a little bit of both. But you just add whatever seasonings you like. The broth is usually a little seasoned. Add some salt and pepper. The garlic, I love to add garlic in. You can either add your own garlic, like if you home grow your garlic like I do, or you can buy minced garlic, throw it in there. So simple. And then you just cook it up until it's all warm and then add in some chicken. I usually plan this for a day when I have just made a whole chicken. So I make a whole chicken and then like the next day I'll make the biscuits and the chicken pot pie filling. If I don't have chicken, I'll just use that canned chicken. But it's so fast and easy. It really only takes like 20 minutes to make this, maybe mostly because of the biscuits. It just turns out so good and my family loves it. Now, the last really simple meal that I love to make, and I make it a lot, is baked potatoes. Now, this is so easy to do in the Instant Pot. I will link my recipe below, my blog post that I have on how to do baked potatoes in the Instant Pot, but it's so simple. You basically just pressure cook them for somewhere between 16 and 20 minutes, depending on the size of your potatoes. But we do not own a microwave. You can cook potatoes in the microwave if you like. Obviously, you can cook them in the oven, but they take a lot longer. So this is so fast. So while my potatoes are cooking, I will pull out some frozen broccoli. Now, you can use any vegetable you want, but I just think that broccoli and baked potatoes go well together. So I will cook on a sheet pan. I will cook some frozen broccoli, add some minced garlic on top, and usually cook it with some ghee or some butter and some salt, and I will broil it. So this does not take very long because it's already cooked. It's just frozen. Usually I broil it on like medium, and I do it for maybe 10 minutes, and then I check it and see if I need to, turn the temperature up or not. But then you get kind of this like crispy, garlicky chicken, and it is so good. So you can put it right on top of your baked potato if you like. I like that. Add some sour cream, pull out some cheese, either make bacon if you have bacon to make, or just buy bacon crumbles. This is the #1 reason that I keep these bacon crumbles on hand for baked potato night, because my kids love these. They probably eat a little bit more bacon on there than actual potato, but it's protein, right? So it's a great way to add some protein to the baked potato night. If you have some meat that's already cooked, heat that up as well. It's a great meal to have with leftovers too. And then just throw out whatever kind of other toppings that you have for baked potatoes that your kids like. If you have green onions or chives or, hemp heart seeds are great. Adds a little protein too. You can also cook these before you leave the house. So I will do this all the time. Before I take my kids to practice, I'll throw all the potatoes in the Instant Pot. If we're gonna be gone a really long time, I will delay the start of the Instant Pot, which, by the way, I just found out you can do that like 2 months ago. So yes, you could delay the start of your Instant Pot if you also did not know that. But delay the start of it or just turn it on. They will keep in the Instant Pot the entire time you're gone. They'll stay warm. You can come home. You've got the potatoes ready for you. Just pull out the other things. Pull out some raw veggies to have on the side if you don't have time to make the frozen broccoli or whatever kind of vegetables. Really quick and easy. These are also the meals that I like to pull out some home canned fruit because I know that my kids will eat it. And if we don't have a veggie ready, this is a great option too. Makes it so simple. This is one of the reasons that I love having home canned fruits on the shelf, clearly, because it makes for a great addition to any meal that's super simple and easy, especially when we don't have any fresh fruit in the house. Because if your kids are anything like mine, they are eating fresh fruit so quickly. It does not last very long in my house. So I always want to make sure I have canned fruit for them to eat too. Now you can tell that most of the ingredients that I shared, these are things that came from my pantry or came from my freezer. So for me, keeping a well-stocked pantry and freezer is important because it helps me to be able to pull together these easy meals that are still healthy and feed my family really fast. If you're new to this concept of building a well-stocked pantry and keeping a prepared pantry at home, I want you to head over to my website, go to siloandsage.com/prepare, and you can get my free guide to a prepared pantry. You can download it totally free. It'll help you to get started and kind of show you what things you might want to keep stocked on your shelves. It has some great inventory pages, totally free. Head over to siloandsage.com/prepare to get it. And I will also leave a link in the description below for more easy meal ideas. I have a whole blog post all about easy meal ideas for the busy seasons of your life. So things you can throw together and some snack ideas that will make those nights where you're maybe running kids from place to place or you just have a busy day, will make those nights a little bit easier. So I would love to know, what is your favorite easy meal that you make at home for your family that is healthy, doesn't come from like a pre-packaged container, but that is an easy, healthy meal that you make from your pantry? I'd love some more ideas. So leave your ideas in the comments below so we can all see them. We can all get some more tips because we all need a little help when it comes to making dinner. Maybe we just need some fresh ideas or some new meals that we can make for our family. So if you like this video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you soon in another video. And in the meantime, keep cultivating your home, friends. Bye.